Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Boys, we're back with another In Context. Today is August 10th, 2025. There's two big topics I wanted to hopefully dive into today. One, of course, is the press conference that happened 2 hours ago regarding Netanyahu's new plans for Gaza. It's been in the news. We definitely got to discuss that. There's also some chatter about the Lebanese army trying to disarm Hezbollah. These two topics necessarily don't fit together, but I think they're both important and we need to put them into context.
Thank you. So Netanyahu has been making noises for the last 2 weeks about a new and improved plan to subdue Gaza. It is interesting that he claims that he has discovered a new and improved plan to subdue Gaza, because I'm not sure if it's new and improved, then what has he been doing for the last 2 years? The plan officially is to encircle the city of Gaza and to subdue it. This is the official words. The official Netanyahu words are usually barefaced lies that are not even worth engaging. So let's get in with the real thing. What he is really saying is, I'm going to find a pretext to continue the killing, starvation, and I'm going to, after bombing Gaza out of existence, I'm going to go in now and destroy it piece by piece to raise it to the ground. That does not achieve anything, but what it really is blackmail. So he is trying to blackmail the resistance in Gaza, that if you don't lay down your arms and play dead so I can roll over you, I'm going to kill your families, I'm going to continue to starve them, and instead of killing 60,000, I'll make it 120,000. I'm not sure he even believes this gets him anywhere, except rolling the ball forward. The Americans, on the other hand, are just hands off, and the Trump administration has gone back exactly where the Biden administration spent the last year of its term. We think that this has achieved the goals we wanted. I mean, the American view, it should end, but we're not willing to put political capital to give Netanyahu cover to end it. He has to come down the tree on his own money. The calculation that people do not get is, and the reason they don't want to appear to be pressuring him to end the war, that is spend their own political capital, because they don't want him to grandstand them. They don't want to appear weak-kneed colonialists who have feelings for the colonized, because that means they are weak. And in the colonial speak, this means they don't have quote-unquote strong moral fiber, meaning they are not vicious killers enough. This goes back all the way. I'm using terminology that goes back all the way to British colonial era of the 19th century, because there is a continuity of colonial logic, and that's why they are not pressing him.
So that being said, when you say this, because a lot of people have the speculation that Gaza they're gonna occupy it, they're gonna build businesses there, or a separate set of economy, or others have the idea that this is just the beginning, or they're gonna expand to the West Bank, and expand their controls there, or is it more of this where where you're saying is that this is more of this, instead of 60 they're going to kill 100, but not with the end goal in sight?
So that's a good point. First, I can't exclude that Israel would like to push the population of Gaza out of Gaza, also West Bank, out of West Bank, and I can't exclude this possibility. Okay. However, in Gaza, that is not the case. People keep forgetting that Sharon withdrew on his own from Gaza in 2005. And that's because Israel calculates that Gaza is not worth the trouble. The resources there are not worth the massacre they are committing. If there is anything, a prize really is the West Bank, not Gaza. That's where the land and the water is. That's where they would want really to occupy. Meaning they are occupying, but you want to eradicate, okay? Now, whether they would be allowed to do that, that's a different game. Quite frequently, Muslims stupidly, I'd like to emphasize the word stupidly, repeat Israeli propaganda about how they are going to discover a new and improved way of evicting the population of Gaza out of Gaza. They have been saying that and leaking that since forever. And every time they leak a new lie, Muslims keep spreading it as the new undiscovered conspiracy. They can't do it. The US spent an endless amounts of time and energy to convince Rwanda to evict, deport 240 illegal immigrants. You're talking about 2 million, not 240 illegal immigrants. 2 million that they want to evict out of their land. Who is going to participate in this? This is nonsense. And Israel keep leaking it, and the US keep making supportive noises because the US doesn't want to be grandstood in the ugliness beauty pageant. That's about it. But if anything like that is ever going to happen, it's in the West Bank, not in Gaza. Okay. The problem is when you start, and this is actually psychological warfare. Why should we participate in it? If anything like that is happening, and there is something happening in the West Bank, something really happening in the West Bank, that's the alarming part. So Ben Gvir is saying, well, let's get rid of the Palestinian Authority, which is exactly where the Likud party has been going, but has been going in a slow-moving pace and without declaring it explicitly. So Ben Gvir is saying the quiet parts loudly. That is where the real action. So I can't exclude it, yeah. But in Gaza, that's not an option. So you have to be clear. What he is trying to do is he's still trying to find a way to come out victorious. And he says that. Or to come out at least with the image of victory. But, the resistance is quite solid in resisting him. And it's so obvious that it's hard to imagine it. And even his sponsors, the Americans, don't see it particularly important. And they are not willing to give him the cover or to spend the capital to end it. They don't think that this destruction is very important. So what to them?
What about the difference in the way the EU is approaching this?
The EU is in a different place on this completely. So today, the 5 European members of the Security Council issued a joint statement condemning Israeli actions in Gaza and in the West Bank. There are 2 elements driving the Europeans here. The first one is the Israel and the US have undermined the conventions of international relations on a grand scale to a level that has never been seen after World War II. I'd say even after World War I, not World II even. Because even World War II did not violate the international conventions to the degree that Israel is doing now in Gaza. Everything is open game, free for all. And that is quite alarming to Europe. However, people misunderstand that, or Muslims particularly misunderstand that because they see that the Europeans are just making do with symbolic acts. That does not mean they do not object. It means that they object, but they do not think that this is an existential issue that requires actual sacrifices. So they are not willing to sacrifice the Western alliance to stop this.
So you're saying that this is what the European,
go ahead.
What they're doing is not merely a symbolic movement. They're actually against what's taking place. So there's a bit of a political divide between the US and the European nations, you would say, when it comes to this.
So let's agree on something. The Europeans' problem is not that Israel is killing human beings, or that a massacre has been going on for 2 years. Their problem is this has been done in a way that undermines international conventions. So there are certain international conventions, so-called fair play rules, and all of these have been trashed in Gaza. They have not taken due steps to put a good political cover to make this look like consistent with the international conventions. Trashing international conventions is very dangerous to Europe because to Europe, international conflict is a real thing. It's happening in Ukraine. What people miss is the way Europe deal with Ukraine is as an existential issue. So it's willing to pay real price in there, not limited to symbolic actions. What's happening in Gaza is not existential. It's important, but it's not existential. Okay, so that's why they are making do with symbolic steps. So there is a distinction there. That doesn't mean they are happy, because what they are doing actually has a meaning and has value. So even though these acts are symbolic, the international order is not merely American. It's an international Western colonial order. And that Western colonial order has 2 sides, the US and Europe. When Europe breaks away from the US, that has significant effect on the international relations. You could see that if you look back at what happened when the US went and invaded Iraq. Because Europe won't go along, that took down the veneer of legitimacy from the invasion of the US to Iraq. So even though it didn't do anything, it was all symbolic, but this has still meaning in international relations. and it marked a significant defeat for the US self-goal. So there is something really happening there, and we shouldn't dismiss it just because it doesn't do what we wish it to do. They're not our friends. They are not even human, but they are very interested in their interests. So you have to understand what's going on dispassionately, not, well, it's meaningless because it doesn't do what I wish it to do. This is emotional. This is not, cool-headed analysis or understanding even.
Before I pivot to Lebanon, I do have just a comment, I guess. I mean, if you're in Netanyahu's shoes, you have a situation now where you can't get them to leave. You can't mass expel them. You can't, they're too small of a country to kill the numbers they would like. But you are also going in and, blowing everything up on the surface, but they're also going in and raising the land up, I call it. That's to me an interesting thing that nobody's really talking about, because if you raise the land, you're destroying the land so future projects can never be made. You can't grow on it. You can't build on it. There was a podcast I listened to recently where an engineer was talking about how they're using specific bulldozers and destroying the topsoil in such a way where that's it, the land is dead forever. You're seeing that in many places. And I think part of this is they're buying time so they could do it to the rest of the land. My point is they're making it, as they say in the news, uninhabitable. And this is not just a saying, it's really going to happen. So then what happens? A bunch of 2 million people live on what? I just don't understand the end game here. Just really, it's as tragic as it sounds. I don't see what you do with these people. I don't know if there's a question there or a comment. It's
a question. What's the end game there?
Yes.
So Netanyahu's end game is, this is uninhabitable. Find them another place because you are humanitarian and nice. But this is, a false move. His Western friends are not willing to entertain it. Nobody's willing to entertain it. Nobody is going to join him in an unforced self-goal. If, as I was saying, if nobody would take US deportees, and these are illegal, who is going to take 2 million legal residents in their own native land being deported illegally? Just think. That is complete nonsense. What that means is creating a permanent crisis where this prisoner camp turns to quote unquote natural crisis for the foreseeable future. Okay. So what it means is changing the conditions of the open air prison into something that resembles a closed prison, which is pretty much what's happening now. What I was talking about actually is creating a militia to guard the prison with Arab and Muslim names. Whether it is local, that's what he wants, or whether it is imported from Egypt and the UAE, which is what the US is proposing. This is the disagreement right now. Problem with that is the realities and the ugliness of what they are doing are too much, and I don't think that would fly very, very high.
Okay, makes sense.
One thing I want to point out, here, and I know we wanted to pivot to the Lebanese, is that from what I sense, the whole idea of inhabitable and all these different things, I think is part of the propaganda to say like, hey, we're here to help. We want to help. We want a alternative to where you're living, and so forth. But I always feel that they can always rebuild, like no matter what, because I've seen where we can rebuild on that land. But I feel like that's a slogan to use to make people feel like living there is basically impossible, and there's a way out. Like, hey, leave or give up or surrender, drop, and don't resist. And this is, because we don't make worse.
It's propaganda. It's part of the propaganda, no debate. But what they are envisioning is this. So what they are envisioning is Gaza before the war was an open air prison where you could actually on a weekend go and have a picnic in a small area within the prison. Okay. What's happening right now is a reorganization of the prison. And the disagreement is on along which lines is the prison going to be reorganized. It's going to be cells with a local militia, the Abu Shabaab militia, guarding it. That's Netanyahu's proposal today, actually. Or is it the American proposal of we're going to create something that may resemble what the open air prison that existed before, but now bring guards from Egypt and the US to make sure that it's well run to American vicious standards. The Israeli dreams are not achievable. The American plans are more like it. And realities, however, have a way of their own, meaning what the US is trying to do is really hard to work. You can't convince people that their enemy is their friend, that the enemy that killed their fathers, mothers, and brothers is their friend, or that his Arabic-speaking cabos from Egypt and the UAE are their friends. And if 2 years of killing have not achieved what they want, then it's very unlikely that other things will achieve.
Makes sense. Plus, just to piggyback, I don't think they'll allow cementing to do America's plan. Israel never agreed to that because they'll just say they'll build tunnels again. So that means cages make sense. It's only above the surface. Let's pivot to Lebanon. The Lebanese army's taken a playbook out of Israel, and they're calling now for the disarmament of Hezbollah. What do you have to say on that?
So the Lebanese government earlier this week took a decision to disarm Hezbollah. Hezbollah objected strongly and had demonstrations all over the place. And that is the expected moves. That would eventually settle down because the Lebanese army doesn't have what it takes. Anybody with half a brain knows that the Lebanese army was never built to protect anyone from anything, except maybe the Phalangist party from its misadventures. And the only wars that the Lebanese army has won since it was created are its wars against the refugee camps, whether Palestinian or Syrian. So get a life. It can't win a war against Hezbollah. And nobody's about to give their weapons to an army that cannot protect them. However, this seems to be part of a renegotiation of new arrangement for a new and quote-unquote improved Lebanese republic. Meaning the US is leaning towards creating something that is Saudi-sponsored, that does not irritate Israel a lot, and Hezbollah in size, but not completely eliminated. I don't think so.
One thing I want to say about this, don't you think the irony about it also is that a lot of the support from this is coming from the Sunni Muslims to disarm the Hezbollah?
I'm not sure that people are actively supporting it. There seems to be a split. So some people are indeed buying into the sectarian narrative that is propagated by Saudi Arabia and its bots, and is supporting the disarmament of Hezbollah because they are criminals and thugs and drug dealers, which in part is true. But it's also true that this is an Israeli demand. So they are just, parroting a Zionist line. And it's obvious that Saudi Arabia is marshalling this. And it's obvious that this is being done under US marching orders. It's really obscene. It just tells you that, whenever sectarianism takes over, then treason becomes something reasonable.
Becomes justifiable.
Something reasonable. This is actually how we should live. And it tells you that sectarianism is not Islam.
And the same thing that I would say in Palestine or Gaza, there is movements that I know of personal people that would say yes, the same thing, that the Muslims should disarm and give up, because it's reasonable to them to, hey, this will be better for the Muslims in Gaza. So the idea of sectarianism is not only in Lebanon but all around the Muslim world.
Well, actually, if you listen to the same Saudi bots that propagate the line that the Lebanese army should take over and defend Lebanon because that's the state's job, which has never happened, are also the same people who are saying, well, these Hamas people are bad. They just shot the Israelis and then they killed everybody under the sun. Hamas are traitors. They are Israeli agents. They are the same bots, by the way. I track them on Twitter. The same bots say the same thing.
I don't know.
Because it's the same sitter in Riyadh that pushes this rubbish. So it makes sense.
Absolutely.
It's a logic of, let's turn Islam into some sort of social identity. We celebrate Ramadan and weird things like that, and forget that actually it's an ideology that has halal and haram and a specific way of life. That's the Saudi Islam. It's also the Egyptian Islam. It's also the the Jordanian Islam. It's also the Zionist Arab Islam. And if you want to be Zionist, why do you pretend to be Muslim? Go and declare Zionist. You know, at least the Druze agents of Israel are even, you know, straight up. So yesterday they changed the name of their chieftain from the chieftain of the Muslim Druze into the chieftain of Druze, period. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay.
I think that was a good way to segue to the towards the conclusion. I think what you brought it all together is at the end of the day, they want a particular brand of Islam in the Muslim land. And subhanAllah, this is, you know, fulfilling, or they're using these tactics to fulfill that vision.
That's not Islam. What they are proposing is Zionism, not Islam. You know, the
Of
fact
course.
that you can be a Zionist and pray. You're still Muslim. I admit you are personally Muslim, but you are Zionist. You don't represent Islam. You fight Islam as an idea. You're a Muslim. I agree. That's fine. You pray and you do stuff. I agree. But you do not represent the idea of Islam. You represent the idea of Zionism. And you are a contradictory human being, meaning even that Derzi who changed his title from Muslim Derzi to Derzi alone is more consistent than you. Okay.
I think we got
Danny,
it.
you want to make any final remarks? Or you got it?
No, that's it. I think we got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shabab.